My goal is to get guys that don't know anything to learning enough so that they can run a viable business, so that the stress of their lives are easier.
You're listening to the Blacktop Banter podcast, the premier podcast in the asphalt industry, made for contractors with contractors.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Blacktop Banter. So we get a diverse array of guests, and you've heard them recently. A lot of self-help coaches. We had an NFL player on that's a motivational speaker now, and all those things. But I wanted to bring back from my past an influence that I had early on. Everybody kind of wonders how I got into doing this and where I learned what I learned early on. And today's guest is Timothy Murphy. So Tim Murphy is an asphalt expert from mix design to production and on through construction. Always keep an eye out for optimization opportunities and improved recycling capabilities. Tim cuts through the BS to find the solution quickly. As I said, Tim was also one of my instructors at the UW certification course that I took for maintaining asphalt surfaces. His LinkedIn profile says he's an asphalt scientist, and he joins us today on Blacktop Banter. Tim, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for the invitation, Marvin. I appreciate it, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I do too, man. You know what? I've thoroughly enjoyed watching your LinkedIn profile page. I'm a geek when it comes to asphalt. Like I can't help it. I just am. And it makes me think sometimes that I'm an anomaly. But come to find out, that's not the case. There are plenty of asphalt geeks out there.
You bet. And I'm happy to be one of them with you, Marvin.
So I found out that you were one during that course because the stuff that we were talking about, average people would be like, who cares? Like, I just drive on it. And when it goes bad, fix it, will you? But once we got in depth through this course, there were 3 different instructors in 3 different stages. I still have that binder. That binder is like 3 inches thick, chocked full of information. We learned about the PACER rating and everything else through all this course. And I learned a lot about subbase, and that most of the problems that I'm going to experience when I look at blacktop are subbase issues of some kind and some sort. So I really appreciated it. I would encourage people, if they have one or have something like that locally, to take it. But I was hoping we could dive into what are some of the basic things that people don't think about when it comes to asphalt?
Oh, wow. Yeah, good question. So what you're using it for is crucial. And smaller installers might be held hostage to whatever asphalt's being made that day at an asphalt plant. Sometimes that's not the best decision. And so you and I and a lot of people who listen to you, we work with state agencies, and they come up with the recipes for, let's face it, roadways and runways. Mm-hmm. And so for commercial, low volume roads, parking lots, driveways, intermodal facilities, we need to be smarter, and we need to select the right materials that are going to perform. Mm-hmm. Lots of your listeners who are producers, all they have to do is be asked, and they'll embrace these challenges and opportunities to, do good with asphalt. Because they really want to maintain and expand the asphalt market. So good people in our industry.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? We think about it, and we see blacktop, and we think, yep, somebody laid that, and it got made somewhere. But they don't really think about, like, it took somebody with a bulldozer and a backhoe to cut into the earth first, and then to find the material, and then to mine the material, and then to aggregate the material and sift it and put it together. And then somebody had to get the raw asphalt and tank it there. There's a process. The industry is so big and wide that it goes all the way through this whole lifespan to even maintaining with chip sealing and line striping and everything. And people don't think about that. So, when it comes to the main structure of asphalt and what goes into its longevity, what are some of the factors that we look at? And I know that that's different in climate, right? Here in Wisconsin, it's going to be far different than in Louisiana and Florida. Just came back from Florida, and every piece of asphalt almost looks weather checked to death. But right. They don't fill any cracks. There's not very many potholes or anything, but it is dried out. So what are some of those things that go into that?
Well, that's a really good setup. Essentially, north and south of the Mason-Dixon line is really a big difference. So you hit the nail on the head. Why don't they have the problems in the south that we do in the north? And summarily for us, it's simply going to be water infiltration that can, what they call strip asphalt. But right now, about 4 or 5 months of the year, we also have freezing and thawing. Mm-hmm. And whenever you put water into asphalt, if it gets into the asphalt, it's going to expand like an ice cube and cause potholes and degradation.
Yeah.
So humorously, we say the most important thing is black side up.
Yeah.
All right. But real important is density. And so those who are on might know them as rollers or steam rollers.
Yep.
But compaction is really, really what makes asphalt last a good long time, Marvin.
Yeah.
Everywhere on the planet.
Yeah, that's the one key takeaway that I took away from the course, which my memory is starting to fleet me now as I get older, but there are a few things that stand out still. And when I think about the course I took that you instructed, that was hammered home, right? Of, hey, we want our compaction rating to be here. And you need a certain selection of roller and different types of rollers and weights for the aggregate different sizes and whatnot. So I think that some people have that application of one size fits all, and that's not really the case, right?
No.
And then you get density testers out, it rings true. But you as you were saying, some of the lower traffic stuff like driveways and whatnot, it doesn't matter. Yes. Does it matter as much? Maybe not, but you still want to strive for compaction ratings and a higher percentage to keep water and infiltration out, correct?
Sure. So the tricks we play on the lower volume roads is we'll make them with more crushed sands, and we'll add a little more asphalt cement. So those are the tricks we can play in order to get the density we need, even with the smaller rollers. Yeah. So we can play tricks, and I mean good tricks, things that are going to turn the product from good to great.
Yeah. Yeah. I had somebody send over a question here on Blacktop Banter through our direct messages, and they were like, hey, do you know anybody who is an expert in maintaining porous asphalt? And I went, no. I don't know anybody because I don't know that that's actually a legit thing. Like I see these videos of porous asphalt where guys are like just dumping buckets of the on the blacktop, and it's gone. It's in it, and in my mind, I'm like, I refer back to our course. I'm like, that's in the sub base now, like it's there right now. So I don't quite understand the full run of it. I wish I did and had more expertise on it, but. Obviously, if you have a porous asphalt and you seal it, you're defeating the purpose of porous asphalt, right?
It won't be working anymore. You're right. Yep.
No. And here's the other thing. If you don't seal it, this is from your course, right, that I learned, and you have only large rock in there, the contact points where the asphalt is touching is far less because there's less sand. Therefore, it's going to oxidize and deteriorate faster, I would expect, right, with this oil drying and getting more brittle in the porous asphalt.
We're learning that we could put a little more oil in. We're learning that sometimes we'll use polymers. So you're right. All of the things that that smell like a bad thing's going to happen have. And so we're modifying porous asphalt to be more successful. Yeah. And for those, it's basically you got to keep it clean. And if you ever use sand or grit in the winter to toughen up your roads for safety, you're going to plug it out. You're going to plug it up. So be very careful if you do porous. And I'm not knocking the use of it. Just be very prudent on how you treat it.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I'll knock the use of it. I don't care. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, man. Like it just doesn't make sense. It's one of these things where it's like. Yeah, I guess so. Like, I guess you cannot have standing water on your blacktop. You've defeated one thing, but opened up a Pandora's box of issues, I believe, down the line for yourself. And as much as you know an asphalt investment is, that doesn't seem to weigh out for me. But before we get going on to what you do with Murphy Pavement Technology, I wanted to ask you about wrap. It's so commonplace now that people are making new asphalt out of recycled asphalt product. In my mind, from what I understand, once again, I sometimes I think people think I just flap my gums and I don't really have a good in-depth knowledge of asphalt and the way it's made and it's designed. But as I said, I'm college educated, right, about this thing. The recycled asphalt product, if it was made with a limestone or something porous that would absorb the asphalt oil, even when it is recycled, it still has that absorbed in there. Therefore, it won't bond as well compared to virgin asphalt mix. Am I correct about that? Because I've seen rougher surfaces as of late with the more use of RAP.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of reclaimed asphalt pavement if it's properly processed and used.
Mm-hmm.
On a national average, I could say that most producers should be able to get to 30% recycling without a big challenge. Some can do more, and I'll be honest about that. But if I just go ahead and use an average for the nation, so what you see, you should not see. Number one, you should have wrap that's consistent and uniform. They heat dry and they add new oil that's softer to put more lights into it, make the asphalt more flexible. So that's a science. That's where the asphalt scientist part comes from that I've learned from others before me. Trust me, Marvin. a lot of what I know, I didn't invent. I've invented a few things, but a lot of what I know is to just refine on what others have done before.
Yeah, it's a learning process.
It is. And so do I get nervous beyond 30%? I ask more questions, Marvin. I do.
Yeah.
Most of us in the business will do what they call a stripping test with the Hamburg wheel or the asphalt pavement analyzer, and we'll do a cracking test. And depending on the state you're in, the cracking test will be different.
Okay.
It could be in Illinois, it's an iFit. In some states, it's Ideal CT, et cetera, et cetera. And in Texas, they have to name a test after themselves. So it's the Texas overlay.
Oh, perfect. I like that one. That was a little bit easier. We had somebody on who said they designed a certain rubber just for Georgia. And the last digits of the barcode were GA, right? So they knew it was Georgia design and Georgia mix.
You bet.
Yeah. That's my kind of my question. When we talk about 30%, we're talking about 70% virgin rock and 30% wrap on average. The question I have, right, is the testing that goes into before we add it to that 30%. Those testing that should be done, which I'm going to be honest with you, I don't believe it's always done. It's just, hey, we crush it or we mill it and we put it back into the pile and we throw in this much with this much. My knowledge would be if it was a younger aged asphalt, it would still have more of the original oil in it versus an older one, which would be a harder rock, which would be more, or essentially would be a harder wrap versus the one that still has some of that softness from the oil in it. So I can't imagine it's all created equal. There has to be a buffer there, I would imagine correctly, like you were saying with the percentages. If we vary down from the 30% to 20, we're a lot safer than we are if we go up from there, if we're trying to judge on how good the wrap is. Is that correct?
It's easier to produce and do little to nothing to the wrap. Normally 20% is when 20% and above is when they'll then use a rejuvenator or a softer asphalt to help it come back to life. And it's not mad science. It's complex science.
Yeah.
But then what they come to find out, most would say 20% is where they go from a harder asphalt to a softer asphalt because they want to make the wrap come back to life.
I love that about our industry. I love that it's like it's so scientific, but then it's the trial and error part is so archaic where it's like add more oil. Okay. We'll add more oil, add more mix. Okay, we're going to add more mix. But yet we do these tests and these trial and errors to figure out what's exactly right. But yet if the asphalt's 5 years older, the wrap is versus another wrap, then we have to adjust all of our levels on everything else to try to get it into the right mix design. I know it's never going to be perfect, but I've just seen more of that as of late, especially wrap that is used for parking lots and all these other things. it's deteriorating a little bit quicker. And I know that we spoke or you all spoke at the course, right? When we do seal coating with emulsion, which coal tar is almost gone, at least where we live.
Sure.
That, hey, we're going to wait for it to oxidize a little bit so that it can receive the sealer and it will adhere without repelling it, because the water is going to be the traveling agent in our sealers. But I've noticed that with wrap added, it seems like that I could probably apply sealer a little sooner than I was used to 10, 15 years ago, because I'm starting to lose some of those top rock and some of that sand right at the surface sooner. Is my mind playing tricks on me, or have we?
I hope it is. Yeah, I do hope it is, and I also can't speak to the projects you've seen. I assume built by other people, but there's a lot of things that can happen, like segregation, paving in October and November in our northern climate. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Many times it's low density. When I get involved in forensics in the spring, we'll go out and cut cores and test the material, because like you said, you have to test the wrap for consistency. Well, we can do that to the mix afterwards too. And a lot of times, one of my recommendations, which is customarily normal, is if the density is a little low, I'll tell them to seal coat right away. And I suggest the contractor who did the work do the seal coating and not pay for it.
Oh, for sure.
But that's almost always, in my case, workmanship issues.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to the fact that there's people out there who will tell you that they can produce 100% wrap and everything will be good. I'll just tell you, I'm not experienced with that success. Yeah. I am with 30%. So all of my clients, I have recommended, even if the state spec like California might be a little lower, and other states they might be a little lower, I'll still say 30% wrap's the right answer.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see where everything goes from here. I like the idea of wrap. I like it that it's there. It's just one of these things where, like, I don't know, man. It's like electric cars. I love the idea of them, and I like that they get around a certain part. But is it as good as the original? I'm not quite sure, right? And that's kind of where it's like, well, yeah, it has some purpose and we get to use it. I love it as sub base and as shoulders and that type of stuff as well, where I see a lot of companies use it and whatnot. But yeah, I'll be interested to see where it goes. Okay, I don't want to pick your brain anymore on wrap, because we only have a limited time. We'll have to have you back here at some point.
You bet. If we come back, we'll talk more about wrap. So yep.
I can't wait. It's one of my favorite subjects as of late, because in the future I see it gearing more and more towards higher percentage, where they're just like, yeah, we figured out how to use it. We don't need to mine and do all this stuff anymore. But
self-promotion. I mean, I got an award from Illinois for with the Pavement Association and DOT with doing training for proper use of wrap all over the state about a decade ago. So I'm pretty darn happy with how the spec developed. It was a good partnership. Yeah. But your state is an awesome state too.
Yeah, they've been adapting it a lot lately. What do you think the percentage of overall savings is with wrap versus that 30% being a virgin mix or something like that?
Oh boy, it's let me think. Probably $9 a ton. It could be as high as $9 a ton. So, wow. And I'm using $3 a ton for 10% wrap.
Yeah, I was going to say that's in a lot of states.
And you could say the over and under probably moves on that, Marvin. The over and under will move, yeah.
But still, I mean, that's if it's 10% overall of the cost. I mean, that's a great amount of savings to states, and the tax dollars can go other places. Hopefully, in the maintenance side, right?
Yeah, it will.
we can prolong it a little bit farther. I drive through both states. I drive through Wisconsin. I drive through Illinois. I drive through a little bit of Indiana, and then I hit Michigan. And all I can think is, man, this stuff should be wrap right now when I'm driving through Michigan. The stuff that I'm driving, they should take that out and put it down. But that's just the way it goes. So you live and you learn in some of these states, I guess, with tax dollars. So tell us a little bit about what Murphy Pavement Technologies does, because when I took your course, I'm not going to lie, like, the way that you spoke about your gig and what you do was pretty cool to me. And thankfully, that stuck in my brain, because I remember you saying, I'm not going to lie, guys, I got a pretty good gig. I go around, I look at Blacktop, I diagnose it for a living. My wife comes with me. I get to speak at events. I get to speak here. I get to travel over. It's a pretty good gig. And Blacktop Banter has turned into that gig for me. I do the same thing, travel all over, talk about blacktop, do all these things. But we couldn't do that if we didn't have viable businesses to begin with. So tell me a little bit about your business and what services you provide.
I'm incredibly proud of the Blacktop Banter Edition seal coating unit produced in partnership with KM International and available in both 550 and 700 gallon versions. Custom built on the same frame as their bulletproof hot boxes, I work closely with KM to design what I believe is the best seal coating unit on the market, a unit designed by a contractor for contractors. Learn more about the unit and to see a walkthrough of the entire unit by visiting kminternational.com.
If you're serious about efficiency and performance, listen up. The Crafco SuperShot 125 is not just a melter, it's a strategic pavement maintenance advantage. Quick startups, fume-free, automatic agitator shutoff, a splash-proof lid, and pumping on demand, these features are essential for any serious asphalt maintenance contractor. So don't settle for mediocrity. Elevate your game with the Crafco SuperShot line of melters by visiting crafco.com today.
In my opinion, Dynapac CC900G roller is the best roller on the market for driveway and small parking lot paving contractors. The seismic technology in these rollers is unbeatable for the smoothness and compaction they provide, and I choose the Dynapac CC900G over the little yellow roller that you're used to seeing every single time. But don't just take my word for it. Check them out in person at Pavex and World of Asphalt, or visit Dynapac.com to find a dealer near you.
Hey Blacktop Banter fans, this is Michael with Aquafault. Say goodbye to potholes and roadway damage without the need for large crews, heavy equipment, or toxic chemicals. Aquafault is the only permanent repair material for asphalt and concrete that uses water. And installation is simple. Just pour, add water, and tamp. It's that easy. An Aquafault repair can be open to traffic immediately and fully sealed within 24 hours. Plus, the product is backed by a 3-year warranty and made in the USA. Visit aquafault.com. That's AQUAPHALT.com to learn more.
In the past year, Jobber has been our CRM of choice at Wiscode, and it's made our world exponentially better efficiency-wise. The request to quote and quote to invoice process is seamless and professional. The scheduling aspect keeps us on point and the team leaders moving throughout the day from project to project, while the timesheet feature tracks the team members' hours. For our small seal coating company, it has helped build the solid foundation we can scale from. Jobber is now a sponsor of Blacktop Banter and helps bring this show to you. With this partnership, Jobber is offering an exclusive savings to BB listeners of 20% off for 6 months. To take advantage of this, find the Jobber link in the show description and get to improving your process today.
Hi contractors, it's Kyla from Wiscote. We use Stencil Plus for all of our pavement marking stencils. Alphabet letters, numbers, directional arrows, handicap markings, you name it. We use it and we get it all from Stencil Plus. Right now, for a limited time, you can save 10% on your stencil order by using code BB10 during checkout at stencilplus.com or by calling 877-372-6055.
Contractors, you need to make it easy for potential customers to reach you. Get a custom phone number from the 800 Pavement Network and plaster it on the side of your trucks and rigs, and I guarantee you'll see increases in leads and jobs booked. Get yours by calling 1-800-728-3636.
So when you talked about driving through all these states in the Midwest, primarily I got started as a mix design expert, asphalt mix design expert, and I pretty much teach asphalt mix design in all of these states to hundreds and hundreds of people every year. So that really, it was the litmus that started the whole thing. Okay. Is becoming an asphalt mix designer. My career with the Illinois DOT and with Chicago Testing Lab allowed me to go to asphalt plants, learn how they are manufactured and how they operate. And certainly as a resident engineer in the field, and early in my career, I worked with foremen and laborers on installing asphalt. They were great. They'd let me even jump up on the equipment and use it. And they taught me my skill and my trade, whether they knew they were doing it or not, all those years ago.
Yeah, they were just getting a break.
They were. I'd go get them Gatorade afterwards too, because they work really hard for a living.
They do.
So it's a difficult job, and I'm always respecting frontline workers because it's tough.
Yeah.
So I need to be gentle with my suggestions, right? But I have to be pretty specific about why we need to make changes to be successful and profitable as a contractor. And it just morphed into teaching and training. So teaching to me could be one-on-one, small groups, hand-on activities. Training would be going to like World of Asphalt and giving big seminars to hundreds of people. Troubleshooting it gets my blood flowing. I mean, it is.
That's the puzzle, right?
That's the most amazing, the most challenging part of solving problems right away. You know, my phone rings at 2:00 in the morning and my client's like, "We need you here today, Murphy." I love that. Even to this day, even though I'm Social Security eligible, I still do it. I love it, Marvin. That is so much fun. Cool. And then the last one's troubleshooting. Is testifying. I don't go looking for it, but when people can't be good people and come to a consensus and an agreement at a level that I consider to be reasonable, then it turns into a lawsuit. And then, then lawyers get involved. I don't go looking for that, but I do a fair amount of it.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's just trying to fact find and give an honest and open opinion as to what went wrong. And I'll tell a client when they're right, and I will tell a client when they're wrong, Marvin.
Tim, do you think that a lot of it is just lack of education, like proper education on how to do the work correctly? Or do you think that it is people trying to actually cut corners the majority of the time? Like, what do we see? Or what do you see?
Yeah, your former statement's pretty big percentage of the problem.
Yes.
So you and I would call it the proper onboarding for somebody, like getting somebody who's new and have them start digging asphalt with a shovel, but then teaching them the trades of how asphalt paver works, how the screed works, how to rake asphalt when required, and if they want to graduate and become an operator and be the paver operator or roller operator, or hopefully the foreman, because we need foremen who are as passionate as you and I are about asphalt, that are willing to go to work early and train all of these people. So I'm going to go with the former. Generally, it's training is a bit of a fire hose, Marvin, and and that's when things get hurt. Would I say that I've never been involved in a project that went all the way to a lawsuit where there was a material defect? I'd be lying if I told you that. Okay. Certainly it happens. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was thinking, what I was wondering, because, at surface level, okay, so I'm an asphalt contractor. I own an asphalt company. And early on, before I knew what I was doing or talking about, I thought, I want to do these big jobs. I want to do the state jobs. I want to do the county jobs. And then I realized everything I had to jump through to get there, right? And what I was going to have to do. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if you know this gentleman or not. His name is Jerry Farner. He owned Farner Asphalt here in Wisconsin.
Farner Asphalt, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a mentor of mine that I don't get to talk to as often as I would like to. But early on, he was like, hey, Kate, are you happy? I was like, yeah, I think so. He's like, good. Don't do what I had to do to get happy again. He's like, it took a lot, and I lost a lot. Don't do that. And I didn't, but... I think that sometimes people are so excited to get into those jobs that, they quote them, they bid them, they get in there, they check all the boxes, but yet they say that they know what they're doing and how to do it properly. But yet when the rubber meets the road, sorry for the pun there, but
sure.
You come to find out, it didn't really all that much. And I have a feeling like it's just lack of actual knowledge and science of how to do this to spec, so that we are putting down the best product possible. And I from what I would imagine you testing in the spring or later on, a year later, when you do have issues, more than likely that's the highest percentage.
Doing something that you shouldn't have done.
Yes.
And in a lot of cases, not knowing you shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
It's such a common theme that every fall, sometime in September or October 1st, I launch my cold weather paving document on LinkedIn to all of my clients. I share it with everybody, and I'm like, there's 15 rules. Follow 5 of them, and it's going to help you.
Cool.
Just understand failure of asphalt is
Can you send
high
me
when
that?
you. Sure, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to add it to my binder. I'll
Yeah.
email you after, and I'll have you send it
Okay,
to me. I'll
no
bind it, 'cause
problem.
I would love to know that.
Yeah, and watch out what you wish for, right? I'm sure that's what Farner told you.
Yes.
But you might get it.
Yes, you
and then
do.
align yourself with a good asphalt producer who is not just making good product, but will take the time to coach and mentor you and explain to you, these are the products we have. This is what we think is best for your project.
Yeah. And if they can't, they're probably not the good asphalt producer.
I'd go to somebody else. Yeah, I'd go to somebody else. And they're so good in our industry that a lot of times they'll help us. And let's say you and I were pavers. We're doing maintenance, and we saw that the spec was wrong. They'd help us to work with the architect or engineer of record to get that spec changed to use the more appropriate product.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. I mean, that's the reputation we want. I find that believe it or not, everybody, the better product you put down, the better price you can get for it is what I find, even over time, right?
Yeah.
Your reputation as your business, putting down the better product overall gets you a better price on the back end. So let's talk about that a little bit as we get into winding down here. What are some tips or steps that companies can adopt to improve their product performance now?
If nothing changes, have what I call a pre-pave or pre-construction meeting. Have it with the owner or the owner's representative, and then debrief. If you can't bring your foreman with, which is very difficult to do because they're out
in the field
paving in the field, somehow debrief or be there at the start of the pave. The bigger the job, the more the effort, because as we know, the bigger the job, the bigger the risk.
Yeah.
So pre-pave meeting is, to me, it's a layup.
Oh, yeah.
How wide should I pave? Where do you want your paving joints? Which direction do you want me to pave? What mix do you want to use? And can you get all these cars out of my way so I can be quicker and more efficient and get the job done smooth, high density, and beautiful looking?
Yeah.
And dig in. If people are in your way, walk off the job. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. Nothing good is going to come out of somebody being in your way when you're out there with all that equipment trying to do a good job, Marvin.
Yeah. And then you get frustrated and emotions take over, and then it's hard to do a good job when your emotions are in the way.
In a pre-pave meeting, our emotions are much more level more level than if you were out there with a crew of 8 and 3 truckloads of asphalt waiting, and your paver and your roller can't go because now there's an argument. Then emotions just take over, and we're all human.
Yeah. There's
and
that
we say
sense
and
of urgency.
do dumb things.
Yes. Yeah. Stuff you regret later on, for sure. So what about, ironically, for me to bring this up, what about education? Like, where can we go? What can we do in that regard? Because obviously I've spoke about it a little bit here. I have a good base knowledge of asphalt, how it works and design works and whatnot. That came from being educated through courses and stuff like you put on. What about those steps?
So locally, there's a lot of what they call local groups that'll do it. The easiest for most states have what they call an Asphalt Pavement Association. So, for example, yours is Wisconsin Asphalt Pavement Association, which I believe is celebrating their 75th anniversary today. So it's been around a long time, and that speaks to what they bring to industry. But they also bring in agency folks to talk at their conventions, and local agencies as well, and consultants. So locally, we'll call that, is Asphalt Pavement Associations. Nationally, three big organizations would be the Asphalt Institute, the National Asphalt Pavement Association, and then they have a partnership called the Asphalt Pavement Alliance. And so they do a lot of training all over the nation. NCAT, and the National Center for Asphalt Technology is down in Alabama, but that's kind of local to that southeast region. And then in March of next year, the World of Asphalt will be in Nashville. So I always recommend people go to that one.
Me too.
Asphalt Institute brings it to you. Go ahead. You'll be there?
Yeah, me too. Blacktop Banter will have a 10 by 20 booth there. So we'll be on the show floor. People can stop in, say hey, get some merch, meet some of our creators, and hopefully we'll have some cool guests there. You have to stop by.
Let me know when you want me to be there. I'll be there with my wife
and
we'll be having
scientist.
fun.
Yeah. That'll be great. That'll be great. Yeah, I can't recommend that enough. We attend a few a year now that we partner with here, and that's always my goal. My goal is to get guys that don't know anything to learning enough so that they can run a viable business, so that the stress of their lives are easier. And then I let guys like you and guys that are way more educated and well more connected take them to where they want to go, where they aspire to go from there. And I think World of Asphalt is a fantastic place for that. If nothing else, when I go to World of Asphalt, I dream. I look at all the conveyors and I look at all the mills, and it gets my, I don't know, same thing like we're talking about. We're geeks, so it makes me dream, I guess.
It's an amazing convention. Yeah, it's definitely worth investing in key personnel. Yeah. Certainly foremen should attend. They get great benefits. Superintendents and maybe some PMs. Locally, the entire crews will go. If I were to be a contractor in Tennessee, I'd send my whole
everybody.
Group. Yeah,
send everybody. You're only a block away from Tootsie's anyway, so send everybody. I always say
that's on the to-do list too, Marvin.
Perfect. We'll go. You and I will go. All right, my friend. Well, one more thing before I let you go. It's been a great, insightful conversation. I really appreciate you getting here and let me pick your brain some about these things. But in your experience now, for your longevity that you've been within the industry, and this life in general, what would be one overarching piece of advice that you would give people within the asphalt industry that are looking to improve maybe their design or their business or their overall product?
Well, so as you said, in life, the golden rule always is going to apply, and it certainly applies in our industry. If I were to give a business advice to smaller groups, steadier growth, make sure it's an upward trajectory, and just be careful in how fast you grow, because you're smart people, you know how to do this stuff, but then you have to employ people who aren't as smart and as good as you, and you have to be patient with them and coach and mentor them and get them to that next level. So a controlled growth is going to be successful in our industry.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's a great piece of advice. It's we as the guys who have been out in the sun and out in the heat and putting the mix down, rolling it, putting sealer down or crack filler down, we cannot wait for the day that we're out of the field for the most part, right? So we hire these guys and plop them out and say, there you go. Yeah, you mash this stuff down and you put this black stuff on top of it and you're good to go. All right, see you guys later. And it's a recipe for disaster. I've come to find out when you do that, right? So.
It is. And never forget, just because you know how to do it and did successful, that doesn't mean that everybody has the exact same capacity to perform as you. And that's perfectly fine. We all have a role on a job. Yeah. Everybody has a role. Yeah. They just need to know what it is, and they need to do the best they can. Yeah.
Tim, where do we find you online if we want to follow and see some of your posts and whatnot?
So website's murphypavetech.com. Okay. LinkedIn, just look me up, Timothy R. Murphy, type in asphalt scientist. I'll friend you, and I'll send you, and I'll share posts from Blacktop Banter from time to time. But most of mine are meant to be a little more
high level.
Less true. Yeah, they're meant to be less high level. So, my latest one talks about how my kids gave me this for a Christmas gift, right?
Move it up a little bit. It says tar pit. There we go. Tar pit scented candle. Yes. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect. I had somebody give me a candle. It was burning rubber. I was like, thanks, I guess. They're like, we thought you would love this. I was like, well, weirdly I do. So thanks a lot. I really, really appreciate it. Well, very
and
cool,
then
my friend.
And then one of my clients sent me a gift, of course.
I know, it's American pecan. Nah, that's not bad either.
Yeah, made and manufactured in Thornton, Illinois. So, the Gallagher family sent it to me. So a good contractor in the Illinois market. So really good contractor in the Illinois market. So
we do that quite a bit. One of my good friends is Jamie Roush, who's the president of Dynapac, and we send bourbon back and forth. And
good.
He tries to get me to eat tomahawk steaks, and like apparently it's like this contest thing that Dynapac employees all do it themselves. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm literally just a guy that you guys pay to do advertising and be around and help out at booths. I'm not doing the tomahawk steak and drinking bourbon at the same time. I literally will sweat to death sitting here.
Yeah.
And I have nothing to prove to anybody. I'll be on the low end of that totem pole. I'm totally fine with that. So we'll have to catch up, my friend, when you get to Nashville.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing you, Marvin. Thanks for having me.
I'm really looking forward to it. Absolutely. So you heard where you can catch up with Tim. Be sure to do that. I recommend LinkedIn very, very much to connect with him and follow along. Blacktop Banter's Success Group. We talk about these types of things. Hey, blacktop issues, troubleshooting, all these things. And these are a collection of contractors that are members of the group. And each month we get together for 3 calls where we talk about this, we talk about life things as well, and we troubleshoot some of the issues that we're having, as well as a 24/7 chat group, access to a Google Drive where there's PDFs and documents. I'm going to get that one from Tim that he said he would send me, and I'm going to share with the guys. Sorry, Tim. I know it's intellectual property, but it doesn't leave Blacktop Banter Success Group. And then also we have the vendor discount programs as well. So a lot of our vendors, a lot of big vendors in the asphalt industry have partnered with Blacktop Banter to bring breaks and rebates to Blacktop Banter Success Group guys to help them hopefully pay for their membership and get them off the ground and going. At Blacktop Banter, there's a newsletter as well. So if you go to blacktopbanter.com, the very first thing you're going to see is a prompt to sign up for our newsletter. We would love for you to take that and read. It is articles and comments written by contractors for contractors, as well as some information about our partners and things. As always, I would love for you to check out missionimpact.com, a nonprofit in Guatemala where we help build fuel-efficient stoves, supply clean water, and build wheelchairs that are custom built for people who have issues getting around the terrain there in Guatemala. As always, you can find Blacktop Banter on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. If you type in Blacktop Banter, you're going to find us there for sure. So, as you've come to find out, for myself and for Tim, this is Blacktop Banter, and we speak asphalt. Peace. Hey everybody, Marvin here from Blacktop Banter, and if you enjoy the podcast and what we've been bringing to the industry, you can support us through a one-time or recurring donation at blacktopbanter.com. There we have a support tab. You click that and choose your path from there. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please do us a favor and leave a review there for us as well. As always, we speak asphalt, and thanks for your support.
This episode of Blacktop Banter is brought to you by Crafco, the world's leading manufacturer of packaged pavement preservation materials and equipment for the asphalt industry. Learn more at crafco.com.